All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Rachel Clark, and I am Fresno Audubon Society president. Behind the camera, we have got other Fresno Audubon members, Judy Johnson, Robert Snow, and George Folsom. We are out here at Roeding Park at the Heron Rookery, so it's a really big, noisy group of birds behind us here. Just to let you know, we are broadcasting this on Facebook Live, and we are also recording this to post on YouTube later. So we're going to get started talking about some of the fun nesting action that is taking place over here in the Rookery. By and large, these birds here are mostly cattle egrets. In fact, they've taken over the lower portions of the tree pretty much. Toward the top of the tree, we've got a handful of great egrets that are nesting, as well as some double-crested cormorants. And kind of sprinkled throughout the tree, mostly at mid-elevations, we also have some black-crowned night herons. So we'll get started and see what we can show you guys. So it looks like right now, here on the camera, we have got some breeding plumage cattle egrets. Now, as you can see, these guys have they're a little kind of in the shadows right now, so hopefully they'll come out a little bit and show themselves a little better. But as you can see, they've got those kind of reddish orange beaks, kind of reddish eyes, and they also have these really handsome, soft orange plumes kind of on the crown, on the neck, on the backside, as well as on the breast. Now, and they also have reddish legs. Now, a lot of these features that I just mentioned are not present, or you will not see on these birds during the non-breeding season. During that time, they'll be pretty much a solid white, and we'll have darker legs and paler eyes and paler beaks. Now, there's a lot of interesting information that I'm going to impart about these cattle egrets. They actually are presently, you can find them on all not all seven continents, all continents except for Antarctica. These guys are native to Africa and Asia, and they started expanding their range in the 1800s. And it is thought that the reason for their expansion is because of their adaptability in both their breeding and their feeding habits. Now, these guys, as you can see here, well, actually, it's kind of, we're a little zoomed in. If we were zoomed out a little bit, you could see just how many there are, just how dense this colony is. Cattle egrets are very gregarious, and both during the breeding season and during the non-breeding season, these guys are in dense colonies. So they roost and they nest in very dense colonies. And both sexes participate in nest building. Generally speaking, though, the males will bring the materials and the females will actually construct the nests. And there are actually several active nests as we speak. I can see in several different spots where there are nests where a parent is actually incubating. Another interesting tidbit about these guys is that they are the smallest of the white herons. Now, compared to the great egret and the snowy egret, these guys are a lot smaller. They're definitely a much shorter body length. They have a much shorter, noticeably stockier neck, shorter legs. So they definitely don't have that elegant, statuesque frame that the gray egrets and snowy egrets have. But nonetheless, if you ask me, they're quite handsome. And these guys, they are known for foraging in fields next to cattle and other livestock. And the reason they do that is they are kind of making use of they are kind of turning into a ready-made buffet. So they're feeding on the insects that the cattle and other grazing livestock disturb as they're moving throughout the open fields. But these guys, of course, will also forage in waterways, swamps, marshes. I mean, they're, like I said, they're pretty adaptable. And you guys can probably hear the Canada geese that are making a little bit of noise in the background. Now I'm going to move a little closer to the rookery so we can hear these cattle egrets vocalize. Now they're making a kind of a lot of like quacking and sort of croaking sort of sounds, which are really common, or a really common sound near their rookeries. Let you guys listen to that a little bit. Okay. We also have some domestic ducks in there vocalizing. Back up a little bit. They just had a really handsome cattle egret there and saying, oh, okay, nice. Okay. Now this here is an adult black-crowned night heron. Oh, so gorgeous. Now, night herons are really, really cool, if you ask me. These guys are called night herons because of their primarily nocturnal foraging habits. So they'll forage mainly between evening and morning. And the reason they do this is to reduce competition with other herons and egrets that they share habitat with. Of course, that's not a hard and fast rule. I mean, you'll definitely see them foraging during the day as well. And they have a really cool vocalization. It's going to sound silly, but it is fitting. When they call, it's very loud, and it's kind of, at least to my ear, it's kind of like a combination between a dog barking and a duck quacking. So, yeah, really interesting sounds that come from night herons. And as you can see, this individual here is an adult. It's got those pale gray wings, black crown, or actually it's kind of like more like a dark blue, and really dark blue backside, solid dark beak, tail underside, red eyes, which aren't super visible in this frame right now. And it's also got that white plume hanging off the back of the head. Now, interestingly enough, oh, you can see it really well right now that's preening. Now, interestingly enough, they actually have those plumes both during the breeding and non-breeding season, whereas your snowy egrets, your great egrets, and your cattle egrets, they only have their really showy plumes during the breeding season. So that's another thing that sets them apart. Now, there are also some juvenile black-crowned night herons that I'm not seeing at the moment, but compared to adults, they are kind of plain, very, very streaky, and have these broad, or these large white spots on the wing cup. This guy's swinging away from it. Now, there is also a yellow-crowned night heron, which you can see in Southern California, and is really, really common in the southeastern U.S. So it'd be fairly remarkable to see in this immediate area. Oh, okay, let's see what we got here on the pond. Looks like we got a gorgeous male wood duck, a gorgeous and unmistakable wood duck. Oh, check that out. Now, wood ducks are known as tree ducks. It's one of 3 tree ducks here in the U.S. Okay, there's another pair, male in the back, female in front. Of course, the female is nowhere near as handsome as her male counterpart. Yeah, as I was just mentioning, yeah, they're one of 3 tree nesting species found here in the U.S. The other 2 are the black-bellied whistling duck and the fulvous whistling duck. Neither of which are found here. If you were to go down to southern Texas, they would be, especially the black-bellied whistling duck, would be fairly common down there. Now, these guys out here, because we're in an area where these birds are pretty habituated to people, these particular individuals are quite cooperative. However, under normal circumstances, when you're in an area where there's not quite as many people, this species tends to be really skittish. and they will fly off quite easily. And when they do, they have these really kind of high-pitched, almost ear-piercing scream-like vocalizations that they utter as they fly off. Luckily, these guys are cooperative. Nice. Oh, okay. Looks like we are zooming in on double crested cormorants. Now, if only that stick weren't in the way. Oh, nice. So you can see the yellow, you can see the, the solid dark body, that kind of paddle-like tail. And then when it turned its head for a moment, you could see the yellow, both above and below the eye. Now, double-crested cormorant, that's pretty much our inland cormorant species, especially here in the valley. You can pretty much bet that any cormorant you see here in this immediate area is going to be a double-crested cormorant. We do have other cormorant species here in California, of course. There's the Brandt's cormorant as well as the pelagic cormorant. But if you want to see those guys, you definitely want to go hit up some rocky coastline. You're pretty much not going to find them here in this area. The other species that you could potentially see inland, but it's pretty rare here, would be the neotropic cormorant. It is smaller than the double-crested cormorant. And one thing to look for is that I mentioned earlier that the double-crested cormorant has the yellow both above and below the eye, whereas the neotropic cormorant will have the yellow just below the eye, and the yellow will be bordered in a white V. Now, this individual here, of course, it's not being super cooperative at the moment, but it's in breeding plumage, and because it has these white crests or plumes rather above the eye on either side. It's really, really handsome. So hopefully this guy will cooperate with us and show us those handsome plumes. But it looks like to the left we have got, oh yes, they're setting up a nest right there too. You can kind of see it. They're that massive sticks on the left-hand side. Looks like it's still under construction. It definitely doesn't look like it's complete. We've got some noisy Canada geese here. Uh-oh. Looks like they're engaging in a bit. Oh, okay. Uh-oh. Okay. So there's a bit of a heated dispute taking place right here. Got some Canada geese that are in the midst of a territorial dispute. So George and Robert almost got mauled. So down below the cormorants, we have some great egrets that have set up a handful of nests. Be fun if we can maybe zoom in on one of those. Talk about some of their habits. Ooh, yeah, I think that it's like I want to say that actually is a sub-adult. It's not as streaky and it has the plumes. So I think it's probably a first year. So, but I'm thinking that we should probably zoom in on that black crowned night heron. Oh, okay. Well, what's coming this lady first? All right. So right here, we've got a great egret. These guys, can't really tell right now, but this guy or this actually I can't really tell whether it's male or female because the males and females do look the same. But you can see the plumes kind of moving around in the wind. These guys have these really handsome breeding plumes, but unlike the snowy egrets and the cattle egrets, the plumes are just right there on the backside, kind of at the base of the back. Oh, you can see them flowing in the wind right now. And they also have another feature that these guys have during the breeding season is they have these this really beautiful bright shade of green that you see in the lores right between the eye and the base of the beak. Oh, here we go. Here's another great egret. Hopefully this guy will be a little more cooperative. Oh, nice. You get a really good view of those plumes. Hopefully this one will turn its head so you can see the green in the lures. This one is preening away. Oh, there we go. Oh, how beautiful is that? Awesome. So, I get asked quite often, or every so often, how to differentiate between a great egret and a snowy egret. Now, I wish we had some snowy egrets here to show you guys, but unfortunately, we haven't been able to find any here among, in this rookery. But one thing to look for is going to be the leg color. Well, number one, the size. Great egrets are definitely larger than snowy egrets. In fact, the great egrets they have a 37-inch body length, whereas snowy egrets have about a 23-inch body length. And wingspan also is greater. In great egrets, great egrets have a 61-inch wingspan, whereas snowy egrets have a 41-inch wingspan, about a 20-inch difference there in their wingspans. Also, look for the leg color. Great egrets have dark legs all year round, like solid dark. Dark legs and feet, whereas snowy egrets, they have dark legs with these bright yellow feet. But when you're looking at a juvenile, I'm sorry, snowy egrets I think I might have said that wrong. So let me just say it again to clarify. Snowy egrets have dark legs with bright yellow feet. Juvenile snowy egrets, however, have yellowish legs. Kind of makes them look fairly similar to juvenile little blue herons, which we don't have here. So don't worry about that unless you're going to go down south. Oh, we got a snowy? Okay, let's see. If we have a snowy, we want to focus on that for sure, kind of demonstrate some of the differences.
I mean, see the yellow feet. It's almost way up by the
Oh yeah, okay, so we do have a snowy egret in here. So we're gonna, let's see. Unfortunately, right now it's kind of hiding out in the shadows. It's really, really obstructed. But if it comes into view, we're gonna zoom in on that so we can show you the black legs with the yellow feet and show you its really fancy plumes on the crest as well as on the backside. So we're just kind of waiting for this guy to pop out. In the meantime, this great egret is just, oh wow, yeah, check out those lures. Bright yellow eyes and that big yellow beak. Okay, so we're gonna attempt to bring in this snowy egret or zoom in on it. All right, there we go. Okay, there is our snowy egret. Awesome. Now look at this guy's beak. Now notice how it has a nice dark beak. That's another difference between it and the great egret. The great egret has that nice big yellow beak, whereas this guy has the darker beak. But check out the yellow in the lores. Check out the breeding plumes on the crest, on the chest, as well as on the backside. Now hopefully this guy will show us its legs as well. I'd love to show you guys the black legs with the bright yellow feet. Oh, wow. Okay, now if you look toward the bottom of the image, actually, yeah, you can. Robert's right. Now, if you look toward the bottom of the image, you can actually see that bright yellow foot. Oh, yes, as Larry said, golden slippers. Yes, that's very fitting. Oh, wow. Oh, check that out. Like this guy's showing off for us. Oh yeah, check that out. Now it's really showing off those feet. So yeah, so just to reiterate again, great snowy egrets are smaller than great egrets, have darker beaks, different leg color, black legs, bright yellow feet. During the breeding season, we'll have plumes on the breast, the crest, as well as on the backside, and have during all seasons, of course, have a shorter wingspan. Now, when these guys vocalize, actually, but this is true for both snowy egrets and great egrets. Now, when you look at them, they have both of them. They have these, elegant, statuesque frames. They're just gorgeous birds, but their vocalizations are a complete mismatch for their gorgeous appearance. They have very similar vocalizations. And if you ask, this is a very unflattering description, but this is the best way I can think of to describe it. Both species, when they vocalize, it kind of sounds like someone trying to throw up. It is definitely not a pretty sound. However, I would say that the great egret sounds, when it's vocalizing, it's a little deeper. And the snowy egret, it's not quite as guttural. So yeah, some gorgeous birds with statuesque frames and very unflattering vocalizations. And the snowy egret, I'll talk a little bit about their ranges. The snowy egret is found throughout much of the U.S., Mexico, Central America, the Caribbean, and South America. The great egret has a much more expansive range. It's found throughout its range, which consists of the Americas, Asia, Africa, and Southern Europe. There are 4 different subspecies. I'm wondering if we should. Oh, okay. We have a goose sitting on a nest across there. You should probably zoom in on that.
I was trying to get a picture of it, and
Okay. Yeah, it's right there on the edge of the pond. So we're going to zoom in on a goose on the other side of the pond that's sitting on a nest. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, you can see the nest structure beneath it. Oh, black crowned night heron just flew over with some nesting material in its beak. Nice. Okay, it's a wood duck that's swimming in front of us right now, and it's vocalizing. It's doing this. Okay, I'm terrible at imitating it, but it's this really, really kind of cute squeaky sound that it's making as it swims across the water. I'm wondering if we should zoom in. There's a black crown night heron nest over here that's kind of
Black crown night heron?
yeah, it's yeah over here. I'm thinking where? I think we should. I'm gonna try to zoom in on this black crown night heron nest to give you guys a better look at that, because right now looks like the adult. It's kind of right out in the sun, so give you guys a really good view of that dark crown and those red eyes. Oh yeah, that's perfect. right there. Right now it's at the bottom of the frame. So there's one, and then the nest is the one that's in the frame right now that we're focusing in on. Nice. Oh yeah, look at that red eye, the dark crown, those white plumes. Now the nest, which it looks like it might still be under construction, is just a few feet down below that, and there's an adult standing right by it. Nice. Now what's interesting is the nest that's a few feet below that, there's actually two individuals right by it. One is a very clear adult, and the other individual looks like it might be a first year. Well, like it was probably. It doesn't look like it's it's not sporting full adult plumage, so I'm wondering if it was maybe hatched last year. Okay. Right now it's on the right of the frame, and unfortunately it's pretty heavily shadowed by some of the foliage. It's interesting. So the one on the left is the one that I'm suspecting was probably hatched last year and hasn't fully come into its adult plumage yet. But you can see it has those white plumes on its backside, and it's kind of an overall brown. It's not quite as streaky as I would expect most juveniles to be, but the one behind it is, yeah, it definitely has its full adult plumage. You can see it very clearly. It's got that dark crown, dark backside, unstreaked breast, red eyes, got those nice white plumes. And right now it's interesting. Looks like it's kind of shaping the nest. This is cool. So we're actually getting to watch them as they build their nests. So a great egret just flew to a perch near its nest toward the top of the tree, or top of one of these trees here. I wish you guys could have heard it because it was vocalizing and definitely sounded a loud croak, sounding like someone is about to throw up. Unfortunately, there's so much noise here between the Canada geese, the freeway nearby, the cattle egrets. It's really tough for me to pinpoint individual noises. But this is a really exciting time of year. As spring migration is really coming into full swing. So I have been hearing a number of different songbirds in the area. I was hearing a yellow-rumped warbler sing earlier. They have, of course, really common species, and they have this really, I don't want to say it's really a super distinctive song because as warbler songs goes, it definitely isn't the most distinctive, but I would describe it as being this really sweet, gentle rolling warble. Generally follows that pattern. Sometimes it kind of starts out as a gentle rolling warble, and then the second part of it is a little more buzzy. It kind of just depends. But yeah, these yellow-rumped warblers, of course, are really common here in the valley during the colder months. But now that it's warming up, kind of starting to disappear. A lot of them will be nesting up in the Pacific Northwest. A lot of them will be nesting right up here in the Sierras. And of course, the variety that we have around here and that nest up in the Sierras is the Audubon's variety, which have the yellow throats, or really bright yellow, especially in breeding males, paler in females. And then the variety that we sometimes see here during winter, but they're not anywhere near as common, would be the myrtle variety. They have the bright white throats and the really dark or black irregular cheek patches. Oh, we just had a flock of Cedar Wax Wings fly over. Oh, there's probably about 15 or 20 of them. Now, they're fairly common here in the valley during the colder months. They will soon be disappearing. I've also been hearing some bush tits around here. Of course, they're a year-round favorite. Sure, most of you guys probably know what they look like, but I'll give a brief description for anyone who might not be familiar with the species. They're these really tiny brown birds, kind of tiny, but they have these round bodies with relatively long tails and these really short, dark beaks, kind of studied black beaks. And what's interesting about them, number one, is they're highly gregarious, and two, they're insectivores. And most birds that are insectivores have these thin, flat beaks, whereas these guys have these really short, stubby beaks. So kind of a little interesting tidbit about them. Let's see, I wonder if we should zoom in on those cormorants again and one of those great egrets again, since they're kind of right out in the open. Yeah, so we're gonna try to zoom in on the cormorants again. There's one of them whose white plumes are really on top of his head are really, really visible. I'd like to zoom in on that. I suppose with the cormorants, with the double-crested cormorants, they have these really bright blue eyes. You get a close-up look. Oh, there goes the black-crowned night heron with nesting material in its beak. Ew, excuse me, I apologize, I just hiccuped. Now, cormorants, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. These guys are primarily fish eaters. They will also eat insects, crustaceans, or amphibians. It's actually kind of fun to watch them as they forage. They swim, and when when they're swimming in the water, they kind of have this really what I call self-assured posture. They hold their heads really, really, really high. And of course, they're divers. And it's really fun to watch them as they swallow the fish too. It's like they'll swallow them whole, and you get to watch them as these, large prey items make their way down their throats. So kind of fun to watch them. Oh, and one thing, speaking of foraging, I forgot to, a rock pigeon just flew right over my head. That startled me a little bit. One thing I forgot to talk about earlier, some of the foraging habits of the great egrets and snowy egrets. These guys, great egrets, they will eat, they've got a pretty varied diet. They will eat small fish, amphibians, crayfish, even reptiles, birds, and some small mammals. In fact, I can remember several occasions where I've actually seen them eat things like gophers, voles, and things like that. And the snowy egret, this one, their diet is not quite as varied. They primarily eat, or they primarily consume aquatic prey such as fish, frogs, worms, and aquatic insects. Let's see what else we can find. Great egret. It's a great egret again. See if we can bring him in a little clearer. Get another look at those plumes and the green and the lores. Oh, there we go. European starling just flew over. Not that that's terribly exciting. I know there was some coots out on the water earlier. That would be kind of a fun thing to focus on. Oh, okay. So we have some American coots over there. I wonder if we should. I mean, they're kind of at the far end in the shady area. Oh, okay. Are they Mallard Ducklings or? Oh, okay. So we've got some ducklings out here. We're pretty sure those are Mallard Ducklings. So we're going to try to see if we can zoom in on those. We've also got some American coots. Ew. Oh, ew. Morning dove just flew over. We have also got a whole slew of turtles down there. Oh, there we go. Look, you see, we've got in the frame there. Looks like we've got at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay, there we go. There's the ducklings right there. You see the parents on either side, and more turtles. Now, when we saw these ducklings yesterday, when we came out here, one of them was very clearly a mallard duckling. The other one looked to have some mixed ancestry. It was a little different. A darker head, actually, it was kind of darker overall, and had kind of a puffier tail with a more upright posture. So it'd be interesting to see what that one grows into. Now these turtles, unfortunately, I suspect that most of these are probably red-eared spiders, which are invasive here. And that unfortunately is a result of irresponsible pet ownership. Oh, yes. Okay, so we have a ringneck duck. Yeah, but definitely a male ringneck duck down there. Unfortunately, it's okay, this pigeon's not shy at all. Unfortunately, the ringneck duck is in a spot where it's not going to be super easy to bring in with the camera. Yeah, it's behind a swan goose, which of course is a non-native species. And there's a whole bunch of them around us. And they're super habituated to humans. And I came walking up, a whole bunch of them approached me expecting handouts. Yeah, so there is a male ringneck duck down there. Male ringneck ducks, female, of course, are handsome, but males, generally speaking, among birds are more handsome. And that's true for ringneck ducks, of course. He's got that dark head and breast, a bit of what I would describe as a kind of a prominent point on the head. And when they swim, they have this very, what I would call self-assured posture. They kind of keep their heads held high. They're now definitely not the most well-named duck. They do have a brown ring on the neck. However, that is more often than not visible. Pretty much you have to be really close or have them in hand to see that feature. They do have a ring in the bill, which they would be, a ring-billed duck would probably be a much more fitting name. And also, okay, on this, I mentioned that the ringneck duck, the males anyway, they have the black head and breast. Now, oh, there we go. Okay, so there's our ringneck duck. So yeah, so you can see that pointed head and how it kind of swims with its, the head kind of held high. It's kind of got what I describe as a self-assured posture. And it's got that black backside, and then on the sides of the black patch on the breast on either side, there's a little narrow white patch, so watch out for that too. Oh, wow, how many turtles you guys imagine we've got there? Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At least 20 just right there alone. Okay, there we go. Got a mallard there in the frame as well. You can see it dabbling for food. It's like a swan goose. The larger one. 2 Canada geese in the foreground. Of course, the smaller one is the mallard. And it looks like we have a coot right there in the foreground. Good old American coot. Now, coots belong to the rail family. Most rails are pretty shy and elusive. That is 100% not true for American coots. They are very numerous, very gregarious, and very out in the open. Not shy at all. And I'll admit, I do tend to take them for granted because of that. But they are actually, they do have some pretty neat features. When you check out their feet, they've got these kind of muddy, yellow, grayish legs and feet. But the feet themselves are lobed. So they've, and that actually is an adaptation that enables them to walk through and over marsh vegetation, which, otherwise would probably be fairly difficult for them to navigate through. Now we do have another rail species that looks that you can find around here. I mean, we probably won't see it out here in the open at Roeding Park, but you can find locally that looks very similar to the American coot, which is called the common Gallinule. They are probably, I say maybe just a teeny smaller. But you'll notice with the American coots, they have those really bright white beaks. The common Gallinule has a very red beak by contrast, and is definitely a lot shyer, less numerous, and less gregarious. Got a male and female mallard right here. Oh. Should we zoom in on these guys? We've got an extremely cooperative male and female mallard swimming right by us. Oh. And there they go. Okay, I'm hearing the call notes of a yellow rump warbler above us. Fortunately, that'd be fairly difficult for us to show you guys, but I'll just quickly describe what I'm hearing. It's this single-noted, really robust chip sort of sound. I'm hearing a lot less of that down here in the valley these days, but up in the Sierras, we'll be hearing a lot of that. Actually, they're probably already setting up shop up there, I'd imagine. So we'll be hearing a lot of that, a lot of their chips, and a lot of their singing up in the Sierras.
Great egret.
There is a great egret up here you just mentioned that's really showing its plumes. If we wanted to zoom in on that.
Okay.
There's a great egret over here that's
Nice
really
shot.
showing its plumes. It's like front and
Maybe
center.
we'll-
Yeah, so we're going to zoom in again on a great egret that's in a position where we can really get a good view of its plumes right now. So there we go. Just got to zoom in. And it's right there, kind of now it's in the center of the frame, right out on the edge of the branch. Okay, so, oh, there we go. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, there we go. Check that out. Oh, the yellow Red Warbler is down closer. I can hear it a little better now. Oh yeah, check out those wispy plumes. Oh, the nice green in the lures. The snowy back? I think we might have the snowy egret again. Try to zoom in on that. Oh, there's a snowy egret again. I wonder if maybe we should zoom in on some of those wood ducks over there in the shade. Kinda, yeah, I think we should do that. There's one right over there, gorgeous male, and another one over there to the right. Let's see if we can zoom in on some of these male wood ducks again. Um, okay, then the male, the one that was closer to us, he's kind of moving from left to right. Oh, there he is. Dabbing at the surface. Oh, there's his female counterpart. Oh, gorgeous. Look at that. Check out that green sheen. These bright red eyes. Oh, these guys are just so intricately marked. It's amazing. Yeah, that is a fitting description. Yes, it's very mullet-like. We got a closer view of an American coot right over here. A bunch more mallards.
There's a sleeping wood duck up ahead.
Where are we looking?
There's a wood duck on the rim.
Oh, okay. So this here has got kind of a nice wider view of the rookery as a whole. As I mentioned earlier, by and large, most of these birds here are cattle egrets. They've pretty much taken over the lower sections of the trees. So virtually everything that you can see, I think, yeah, pretty much everything you can see in this frame right now, those are all cattle egrets. So yeah, very, very, very gregarious, as I mentioned earlier. And one thing that I forgot to mention earlier is that typically when cattle egrets set up colonies, the colonies have already been kind of established by native egret species such as great egrets or snowy egrets, and the cattle egrets kind of come in and establish their own nests. So as I mentioned earlier, we are out here at Roeding Park. This for those of you who might have joined a little later. And this rookery is located right by the Storyland entrance. It's really easy to access. There's a grassy area with some picnic tables, a lot of trees for shade. It's only a $5 entry fee for anyone who might be wanting to visit this area. And I will warn you though, it does get a little crowded, but this is a really great place to get some really close views of the birds. These birds out here are, for the most part, fairly habituated to humans. So you can get, within, several yards of the rookery, and the birds don't seem to mind. And here, as the weeks, as I mentioned earlier, yeah, we are, in spring migration. So here as the weeks progress, so the variety out here will probably increase. I see a lot more songbirds and see a lot more nesting behavior. One thing you'll also see out here is a lot of non-native species. There's a number of rock pigeons, a number of European starlings, but also in terms of ducks and geese too, there's a lot of non-natives. There's a lot of domestic type mallards, a lot of swan geese, as well as some Muscovy ducks. The Muscovy ducks are definitely not the prettiest ducks you'll ever see in your life. They're the ones that kind of have that kind of wrinkly, brightly colored skin on the face just below the eyes. All right, so we got male and female wood duck right here. So it's a Canada goose. And a cattle egret that just flew through the frame. All right, guys. Well, it is 9:59. So we are probably going to go ahead and close this thing out. I want to thank all of you guys for joining us today. I'm not sure where our next virtual tour location will be, but we'll definitely keep you updated. So if you're subscribed to our emails, look out for it there. And also you can look for updates on our social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram as well as on Twitter. So yeah, look out for updates there on upcoming events. And I also would like to remind you guys that this coming Tuesday at 7 p.m. we'll be having our general meeting for the month of April, and our speaker will be Dan Irola, who is president of the Western section of the Wildlife Society, and he will be talking to us about breeding ecology among tricolored blackbirds in these Western Sierra foothills. So if you're interested in that at all, please join us. If you want any more information about that, check our posts on social media. And if you're subscribed to our emails, you should have received some email updates. All right, everyone. Thank you again and have a great remainder of your weekend.